Hello, welcome to week 4 of Rhythm and Order, Katonah Yoga practice for fall. I'm Rebecca Jo, this is my channel. Since you're here, take a second to subscribe and turn on alerts so that you will be notified when new videos are uploaded and you can easily come back and revisit all of these helpful tools and tips. This 10-week series offers adaptable movement and breath practices to support your lungs and your breath capacity within the season of autumn. Each week offers a new sequence, building one onto the next. However, each class can also stand alone on its own if that's all you have time for. Today's class will be one of the more physically demanding within the series, so do whatever you need to do to support yourself throughout that challenge. Set up as many props as you need, bring yourself over to the wall for extra feedback, and take as many periods of rest as feels appropriate for you. Take your time with this practice. Leave questions in the comments, share your insights. I would love to hear about your experience. When you're ready, we'll come onto our backs to begin. Lie down on your back in a constructive rest position. Take a moment just to land. Feel the weight of your head on the ground, your shoulders, your rib cage, your hips, feet. Then take a breath in. Feel the lightness and the rise of your belly and chest as you inhale. Exhale out through your mouth. You can choose to stay here, or if you have a block and strap, take the block in the narrow width between your upper thighs, and then wrap a strap around your legs in a loop. Just tight enough that everything is held securely, and then you'll return back to that constructive rest shape. Rest the back of your head to the ground, take your arms out, turn your palms to face up, soles of your feet flat to the ground at a comfortable distance from your hips. For now, just be here on the ground with your body and with your breath. As I mentioned in the intro, this will be a little bit more of a physically demanding practice, relatively speaking. With that in mind, support yourself however you need. Take breaks whenever you need. When we play with challenge within our movement practices and our breath exercises, we do so not to push beyond our bounds or overexert ourselves, but rather to establish clear boundaries around where we're able to go, where we're not yet ready to be, how we can maneuver around the space that we're within, how we can support ourselves in going further with awareness as to when to pause, when to reflect, when to reconnect, when to explore a different angle, so that we find ourselves in a space of being adaptable. It means very little to be strong if you're not able to bend. It also means very little to be flexible if you can't hold it together. Place your right hand over your chest, your left hand over your low belly. Take a few breaths, feeling the expansion of your breath into your palms and the movement away from your hands as you exhale. Allow it to be that simple. Just you resting on the ground, connecting to your breath, checking in. Know that you have this place of steadiness to come back to anytime you need. Establish a rhythm for yourself through the in and out flow of your breath. Allowing that breath to move in with ease, opening space to create more depth. You can keep your palms resting on the front of your body or drop your arms out to the sides, bend your elbows into a cactus shape and turn your palms to face up. And then gently guiding the breath out without force, without added effort. Complete one final round of breath here, resting in stillness. And then allow the rhythm of your breath to guide the movement of your hips. Tilt your pelvis as you inhale, drop your tail towards the floor, arch your lower back off of the ground. And then with your exhale, rock towards the low back, scooping your tail towards the back of your knees. Just continuing that easy movement, inhaling, extending the spine, lightly pressing to the back of your head. Exhale, hug the block, move your navel towards your back. Connect each breath to the movement and allowing each movement to support your breath. Inhaling to open space in the front of your body. exhaling to create engagement and stability. Rest your pelvis in a neutral position. And then guide your knees over your hips, placing your palms on your kneecaps. Press your hands down into your knees to root your thighs into your hip socket. It's feeling the connection of your hips to the back of the floor, the pressure, the groundedness of plugging your legs in. Full breath in to the back of your ribs. Exhale out through your mouth. Rest your feet to the floor. If you have a strap around your legs, take it off. Set your block off to the side as well. Widen your feet to the edges of the mat and then rest your knees together. Start to rock your knees from side to side. Turn your head in the opposite direction of your knees. And then feel your feet on the ground. As you turn your knees to the right, press your inner left foot like you're trying to push the floor away. And then as your knees go to the left, press down through your inner right foot. Balance that out. One last time, right to left. And then point your knees up again, slide your feet to hips distance. Grab your block and bring it just in front of your knees. Knees will float over the hips again. Start by pressing your palms into the block. So you're hugging the block between your knees, drawing towards you, and your palms pressing the block away. You can stay there or use your forearms instead. And if it's okay for your neck, you'll start to curl your chin to your chest. Just continuing to hug the block between your knees and your arms. If this feels strenuous on your neck, rest your head back down. You can come back to pressing the palm into the block so you're not making effort through the shoulders to hold your head in place. I'm feeling warmth starting to develop in your belly as you engage to hold the block in its place. Find new spaces to move your breath, taking your breath into the sides of your body, into the back of your body, making sure that you're able to continuously breathe, even if it's not the deepest breath you've ever taken. And rest your head down, set your feet to the floor, and then place the block over your belly just above your navel. As you breathe in, lift the block towards the ceiling. And as you breathe out, feel the weight of the block descend back into your abdomen. Just using the block as feedback here to bring more awareness into your breath, finding an even rhythm between the effort of bringing breath in, of expanding the body out, releasing the breath out, and drawing the belly in. As you complete your last exhale, lift just your right knee over your hip. Set the block in front of it, and then press your right forearm into the block until you feel like you can hold the block securely between your arm and your leg. It may be enough effort to keep your foot on the ground. Otherwise, you'll extend your left leg at a 45-degree angle, and then take your left arm up and over alongside your ear. Reach through the ball of your foot as well as your fingertips, or you may cup the back of your head to support your neck here. Move your breath into the sides of your ribs. Keep pressing your forearm into the block as you try and pull your right leg in, making sure that you can maintain a steady breath. And then just easing your left foot down, release your right foot, set your block back on your belly, rest the back of your hands to the ground. Then once again, moving the block up as you inhale, feeling the heaviness of the block as you exhale. Observe the movement of your energy from an active to a resting state. Feeling the rise and fall of the block with each breath. And then bringing your left knee over your hip, left forearm pressing into the block. Hold it in place. Check in, see if you want to stay here or extend your right leg. Reach your right arm up and overhead, bringing your right arm alongside your ear, and then reaching out through fingertips and toes. Drawing left knee in, pressing left forearm into the block. Support the back of your head if you start to feel strain in your neck. If you were set up near a wall, you could actually press the ball of your right foot into the wall to find another point of feedback and engagement. And slowly release out. Set the block on your abdomen again, back of your hands to the floor, palms facing up. Settle your breath into a slow, steady rhythm. So you continue to come back to that place of groundedness, to reflect and prepare for the next little bit of challenge. And each time we meet that new challenge, we have the choice to renegotiate that boundary or not. Bring your knees back over your hips, both knees this time, pressing your forearms into the block. Same thing we did in the beginning, finding symmetry in this shape again. Continuing to feel your breath moving towards the sides and the back of your body so that you can engage the front of your body. Only going so far as you can maintain presence, steadiness, and awareness. And taking a last full round of breath and then releasing the back of your head. Set your feet to the floor. Last time, block on the front of your body. Settle back into a breath of ease. And just notice, observe, experience the movement of the block with each breath coming and going, the pattern of rise and fall, and the feeling of support from the ground beneath you. Place the block to the side, hug your knees in towards your chest, and then float your knees back over your hips, resting your palms on your kneecaps. With your inhale, press your knees into your fingers, and with your exhale, bend your elbows and pull your legs in towards your body. Take 2 or 3 breaths like that. Inhale, creating space by moving the knees away. Exhaling, assisting the breath out by hugging the legs into the low belly. And drop your arms out to the sides. Keep your knees at a comfortable distance from your body and start to move through a twist. You'll inhale with your knees in towards your chest. Exhale, dropping your knees towards your elbow and looking over the other shoulder. Go only as far as you can in your natural rotation, moving just to the end of the breath out, and then finding your way back to the middle as you inhale. So it's not about testing how far you can go, but feeling that moment of challenge, of boundary, exploring what the sensation is there, and then moving back in the other direction. Each time it may be going a little bit further. Each time maybe deciding that you need to hold back a little bit more. Continuing to check in, to reassess, and to renegotiate your space. Add an arm rotation by rotating your palm up each time you face it. And then rotate your palm down each time your knees point in that direction to increase the stability on that side of the body. Move your head and knees through one last rotation, and then hug your knees into your chest. Slowly rock up and down the length of your spine, holding the back of your legs. Each time you come up towards your seat, find a moment of balance. And then rock back again. Eventually bringing yourself up to balance on your seat. Continue to float the legs in the air, and you can hold the back of your legs. You can rest your fingertips to the floor behind you, or as you'll see here, you can take a strap, wrap it around the back of your shoulders, and then loop it around and underneath the back of your thighs. And then you'll use that strap to hold you in balance as you lean back into it and press the legs forward into it. Lightly flex your feet, press through the balls of your feet. Fingertips can rest on the floor. Find a back bend here as you lean back into the strap. You can maybe extend the arms in front of you or grab opposite elbows and take your arms alongside your head. So you start to use the extension of the elbows to bring you more upright. The boundary of the strap to hold you in a stable shape. Switching the cross of your elbows if you've taken that variation. Coming in and out of this as many times as you need. You can always rest your hands to the floor or set your feet to the ground as well. Bring your feet down, rest your hands. If you use the strap, go ahead and place it off to the side. And then fingertips will point forward as you set your hands behind you. Press through hands and feet and lift the front of your body up towards the ceiling. So you're in an upward facing tabletop, knees right over your heels, shoulders moving over your wrists. Extend your crown and back behind you. If this bothers your neck, just keep your chin tucked into your chest. Press the ground away, bringing weight into your knuckles, pressing through the floor with your feet, and then slowly sliding your seat back to the floor. Take your time to transition onto hands and knees into a tabletop position. Bring that block back in between your upper thighs And then set your shoulders right over your wrists. You can measure your shoulder distance by turning your middle fingers in to touch. Shift your weight forward and back a few times, shifting weight into the front of your hands and then back into the heel of the hands. Notice the difference, and then finding the middle space. Reach one arm forward, up alongside the ear, and rotating all the way back to flip your wrist, middle finger facing back, and then you'll rotate in the other direction. Alternate arms through a full rotation, backstroke to flip your wrist, and then freestyle forward to come back into your starting position. Just keep going, find as full of a rotation as you feel able to today. Notice those places of stickiness, places where maybe you have to go around, noticing where you feel challenge in that movement, using the block as a stable point of engagement so that we isolate the rotation of the arm and the flip of your wrist. Keep going, rotating, alternating arms, beginning to build heat in your shoulder, possibly moving through some of that stagnation over time, but only when you feel ready for it. So taking a last rotation or two, and then setting your hands back to the floor. Come into a neutral spine and then start to slowly extend through the crown and your tail. Shift your weight forward into your knuckles. So you come into this exaggerated cow spine. And with your exhale, start to draw your navel in, drop the weight of your head, tuck your toes under, and then hug the block up towards your pelvis. Press the ground away with your hands. Start to press your palms away from each other. And then pushing down through the balls of your feet, you'll hover your knees off of the ground. Keep your knees floating about 1/2 inch to 1 inch off of the floor, extending again as you inhale. Lift your tail, lift your crown, and then exhale to round. So really slow, stable cat-cow movement. Continuing to hover your knees if that feels accessible for you today. Tap your knees down anytime you need to take a rest. Palms press into the floor, balls of the feet press into the floor. And then slowly bring yourself back into your downward facing dog. Continue to hug the block between your upper thighs, bending your knees, pedal out your feet, pressing one heel down and then the other. And then drop the weight of your heels as you bend your knees forward and lift your sitting bones. So you create a suspension of movement of the knees drawing forward, seat lifting up, right, and then opening from the back of the knees to the heels, rooting down. Move your block back so you bring more weight into your lower body. Then plugging it down through your right hand, lift out through your left sitting bone. And then plugging down through your left hand, lift out through your right sitting bone. And take your left hand to your low back, turn your palm to face up. Plug down through your right palm and cross-reference by lifting through your left sitting bone. And then place your left hand down, switch, bring the back of your right hand to your low back. Continue to look out towards your hands, alternate which hand is on the ground. If this is a lot of effort for you today, take your knees back to the ground and you can take them down and come back into it, or you can do this whole practice with your knees on the floor. And another variation, if you recall from our last practice, is to have the hands on the wall, feet on the ground, and you would just alternate which hand was connecting to the wall. Left hand will stay on the low back this time as you shift your weight forward into a plank position. You can take your knees to the ground for a supported variation and then begin to revolve your chest and your abdomen towards the left. Hips stay stable, lower body stays rooted and grounded in its shape. And again, you can stay knees to the ground or lifting your knees, coming into this twisted plank. Extend your left arm overhead, gazing towards your left pinky with your right eye, and then sweep your arm down and underneath you. Come back towards a downward dog and see if you can catch a hold of your right heel with your left hand. If you can't quite reach, just slide your right hand back until you can. Or you can drop your knees to the ground and take this thread the needle variation instead. Left arm underneath your body, resting your left shoulder to the floor. The variation you choose is less important than your ability to maintain a steadiness within your breath. Release your left hand. Come into a plank position just to measure the distance of hands and feet again, and then you'll slide your right hand to your low back. Shift your shoulders forward, take your knees down for a supported variation. Begin to rotate your chest towards the right, lifting the knees, again, only if it feels appropriate. Lift your left hip, turn your right hip down so your lower body stays in a plank shape. And then reach your right arm underneath you, grab a hold of your outer left heel. Knees stay slightly bent, spiral to look underneath your left arm. Plug your left palm into the floor as you lift your right sitting bone. Or alternately dropping knees to the ground, taking a thread the needle instead with right shoulder to the floor. Find where you can place your breath within this twist so that the revolution of the spine does not create a restriction within the airflow. Return your right hand to the floor in your downward facing dog. Start to find your way down into a tabletop again. We'll continue to work with the block here a little longer, so long as it doesn't become cumbersome for you. Option to keep your fingertips facing forward or flip both of your wrists, middle fingers back towards your knees. Begin to undulate through slower rounds of cat-cow to start, and then we'll play with the pacing here. So you decide how far you want to take it. As you feel ready for it, you'll power your breath up more like a Bhastrika bellows breath, an active in and out breath. And as you take those quicker inhales, also begin to find quicker movement. Whatever pace you choose, support your movement with your breath, rounding as you inhale, extending as you exhale, going faster as it feels available to heat the body, slowing down when you need to reground and restabilize, to plug back in, moving through waves of flexion and extension, noticing which direction is an easier space to enter, where you may need more awareness, more effort, going to the edges of each direction and then moving the other way. Set your rhythm with your breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And slow it down. Take one last inhale around your spine. And then tuck your toes under with your exhale. Start to slowly sit back, hips towards your heels. Peel your fingers off of the floor. Move your block to the side and come into a toe pose, making sure all 10 toes are tucked under. If this is a lot of pressure on your feet, take some of that out by shifting your weight forward at any time, resting your hands to the ground. You could also sit on a block and just placing that block between your ankles. Wrap right arm under left. Hold your right wrist with your left hand and start to flap your right hand around. Open space in your right wrist and observe the movement of your hand and whether it takes awareness or it comes naturally. And make a fist with your hand. Lift your elbows. Rest your wrist on your right temple and set your chin over your left shoulder. And we'll take breath of fire here. When you're ready, beginning to quickly draw your navel back towards your spine. 50 exhales. Counting each breath out to measure your time, to give yourself a beginning, a middle, and an end. Completely empty on your exhale, turn your chin forward, take a big breath in, interlace your fingers and press your palms overhead. Hold your breath in, circle your arms by bending your elbows, palms continue to face up, swirling around 2 or 3 times each way, and then extending the arms back upward. Exhale out as you're ready. Set your hands to your legs. Observe the shift of energy back into your natural breath. Any new physical sensation within your body. And then shift forward onto your fingertips, untuck your toes, come onto the tops of your feet. Now you're welcome to sit on a block here or to deepen the stretch of the fronts of the feet, shift your weight back, lift your knees, and then start to circle your knees around so that you massage the tops of your feet with that rotation. This movement is completely optional and may not be appropriate for everyone, and you may find that you find enough opening in the tops of the feet just simply by sitting on a block. And we'll all meet there anyway, so when you're ready, grab a block, sit down, and then take your left arm to wrap under and around the right. Hold your right wrist, vigorously shake your right hand. Notice if your right hand moves any differently than your left hand did. And then make a fist with your right hand. Lift your elbows. Slide your chin over your right shoulder. Rest your fist on your left temple. Once again, 50 counts, breath of fire. Quick exhale, drawing your navel back to your spine. Count your own breath to measure your time. Unwind the arms, exhale out completely, and then take a big breath in as you extend your palms overhead. Hold your breath, rotate your arms in a circle, swirling the breath around the body, then rotating your arms in the other direction. Press your palms up, exhale your breath out, release your hands to rest on your legs. What do you notice? What do you physically feel? What's new? What's different than the last time you sat here? Drop your chin to your chest and then start to slowly roll your head around, moving your chin towards your left shoulder, up towards the ceiling, over to the right, and then back down to your collarbone. Continuing a slow, full rotation of your head and neck. Notice again those places where you feel maybe a little stuck, where the rotation gets a little edgy. Go around it so you're not forcing any movement, keeping an extension through the sides of your neck as you rotate back. And then switch your direction, taking your ear to your right shoulder, lifting, rotating your head around. 3 rotations each way, exploring boundaries of movement and mobility, adjusting as you come around again. And then eventually bringing your head back into a neutral position, facing forward again. Take your time now to come back into downward dog. Set your block off to the side. Measure the distance of hands and feet by finding plank first, and then bending your knees, shift your hips back. Cross your right leg in front of your left. Keep your knees bent. Press your left knee into the back of the right to find the fold in your hips. And then unfold, shift forward into plank, shoulders over the wrist, looking out. Folding again, keep your gaze slightly forward towards your hands. Fold and unfold a few more times at the hips, moving from downward dog to plank and back again, continuing to gaze outward so you see what's ahead of you and what's coming. From plank, drop your right knee to the ground, pivot to come into a variation of side plank. Stack your right shoulder over your right wrist, bring your left hand to your left hip, plug down to the outer edge of your left heel, then you can turn your right foot back behind you for more support. You might stay here and explore this shape, taking your arm alongside your ear, or lift your right knee and set your right foot in front of your left. So both legs are extended. And once you feel stable, slide your left toes back. So to find a back bend and an opening in the front of your body. Gaze towards your left pinky with your right eye, or you can take the back of your head, cradle your head in your hand, opening further into a back bend. And eventually, setting your hand back to the floor, swing your left leg around in front as you come back to your downward dog. Folding and unfolding again from your plank to your dog, or you might start to play with opening the front of the body as you come forward into that tuck-toed, upward-facing dog. Continuing to gaze forward at what's ahead of you, rooting and anchoring yourself back through your heels. Shoulders over wrist, pivot, drop your left knee down, supported side plank, extending your right arm overhead and playing with the opening of the right side body. Maybe taking your left leg in front of your right, full extension, lifting your hips. And then once you feel stable in your pelvis in this shape, you can start to explore the back bend, sliding your right foot back, maybe cupping the back of your head with your hand to open your collarbone. Eventually release your right hand down, swing your right leg in front again. Look out, see your thumbs. Shift forward, open the front of your hips, and then come back into down dog. Move in and out of waves of back bending and folding, connecting the movement with your breath. Inhaling to open the front of your body, exhaling to fold back in. Drop your knees to the ground. Keep your right knee crossed in front. Slide your feet toward the sides of the mat and then interlace your fingers, plugging your palms down into the floor just beneath your chest. Begin to spiral around in your pelvis, scooping your tail under and around. So hands stay stable and connected, feet stay plugged into the floor. You've created a triangle between your knees and your feet in the stable base of support, which allows the waving of the spine, the spiraling around, the movement of the head and the neck. Keep stirring your hips, eventually switching direction when it feels time. Noticing when you start to hold yourself stiff in parts of the body, playing with your pacing, trying to go a little bit faster to allow more freedom of movement, playing with restricting yourself, slowing it down. Notice if you find yourself sitting in your comfort space. Observe what happens when you try to go somewhere new. Round your spine, take a breath into your back, drop the weight of your head, press the floor away, and then exhaling, gaze up, lift your tail, extending and opening the front of your body. And just a few times, a little slower this time, rounding and extending, continuing to press down through hands and feet. Come into neutral. Release the clasp of your hands, and I recommend grabbing a couple blocks to stack in front of you as you come to stand on your knees. If you don't have blocks, you could also bring your hips to the wall like we did in our camel practice a couple weeks ago, or a low table works really well for support as well. The challenge of this balance kind of sneaks up on you, so don't be surprised if this starts to feel like a lot of work. You may start to feel heat rise up as you continue to stabilize and bind through the low body. Remember, we work on building heat from the ground up. And continue to press your pelvis forward towards the block, and you can explore variation of the arms. Hands can stay on the blocks, hands can come to the hips. You can grab opposite elbows overhead, using the arms to lift your upper body towards what's above you. So you start to move yourself apart in opposite directions, upper body lifting upward, lower body rooting downward, pelvis moving you forward as you take yourself towards what's behind you. Interlace your hands behind your head, scoop your elbows up, maybe wrapping arms into that eagle wrap, flooring the capacity of your upper body only to the degree that you maintain stability in your lower body. Eventually unwrapping the arms, bring your hands back to the floor, lift your knees, and then you'll walk your hands back, take one block to set underneath your right hand. So right leg is still crossed in front, coming into a twist with your left hand on your sacrum. Find your plumb line, look out towards 12 o'clock in front of you, extend your tail back towards 6 o'clock behind you, and then maintain that as you spiral open towards the left. Left shoulder stacking over right. Taking your gaze upward, extend your arm if that feels okay for your neck. Catch a glimpse of your left pinky with your right eye. Draw back through your right hip in sitting bone, and you can use your left hand to help manually draw your right hip back so that you frame out your torso. And then swim your left arm through the air. Switch your hands, bringing your right hand to your sacrum. Now, this twist has a lot more binding and restriction to it, so you may not find yourself moving as far in the rotation, and you may also find that you want to keep your right hand on your sacrum here. If you extend your arm out and it feels like it's just a lot of effort to have it hanging out there and it's not adding to the turn, just focus on the stability of the hips, the width across your collarbone, and the extension from crown to tail. Release your hands, fold in, and you'll shift weight onto the balls of your feet and start to pivot yourself around to the left. Just spin all the way around until your left leg crosses in front again. If that doesn't work for you, just uncross your legs and recross the left leg in front. Walk your hands forward until you find a plank position, shoulders over wrists, measuring the distance of hands and feet, and then fold back into your downward dog. Coming back through those positions of folding and unfolding at the hips, left leg crossed in front of the right, gazing out and up as you bring your pelvis forward, continuing to gaze out as you bring your hips back again. Drop your knees to the ground, set your feet wide, create a triangle between knees and feet. Interlace your fingers in your non-habitual clasp, palms plugging into the floor, thumbs pointing back towards your legs. And begin to stir your hips again, allowing your chest and your head to move along with the spin of your pelvis. You can imagine your tail like a spoon scraping out a bowl, trying to get all of the edges as you move around. Switch direction when you're ready. Noticing which spin comes with more ease, which one you have to kind of think a little bit more about and bring more attention into your movement. The faster you spin, the more you want to plug it down through your hands and your feet so that you rely on the grounding connection to create freedom and space within your motion. Round your spine, drop the weight of your head, breathing in. Look up, lift your tail, extend the front of your body, moving through flexion and extension. Inhale, exhale. And then find neutral. Release your hands, walk them back. Standing on your knees again, grabbing whatever props you have to support you as you come up. And then rest your hands. So you're not putting weight on the blocks, but they're a placeholder. It's also something to move your hips towards. Again, the wall is really great here to help you plug your pelvis forward and find the stability of the wall. And then from that stability, begin to lift upward through your navel, your sternum, and your chin. Hands can come to your hips to help bring your pubic bones towards what's in front of you, making fists at the back of your hips to press in your sacrum as you lift your chest. Reaching those fists up towards the ceiling to elongate the sides of your body, grabbing opposite elbows. And then cycling through those different arm variations as it interests you, as it creates more opening for you, more lift, more extension. And only so far as you're able to maintain the stability, the grounded connection, the forward movement of your hips, the plugging in of your feet, and the spaciousness of your breath. With each expansion and opening, checking back in, regrounding, rewiring. Unwind slowly and with care, bringing your hands down. Set one block to the side. Keep one block to place underneath your hand as you come towards your twist. Lift your knee, walk your hands back so that your shoulder can stack right over your wrist, your hips over your heels. And then find your plumb line, look out, stick your tail back so you have the fold at your hips, spiral towards the right. Use your hand to manually draw your left hip back so that you reframe your torso, re-extend. Keep recommitting to your plumb line, to your extension. Reaching right arm up and overhead. Gaze towards your right pinky with your left eye. Swim your arm through the air. Switch hands. Left hand to your sacrum. Look out with your chest and begin to spiral open to the left. And again, knowing that you will feel more restricted here, that the twist probably won't go as far. Be okay with that. See how it feels to take the left arm out, but you might find that you just want to keep your hand where it is and then release your hands and fold into your legs. If it's interesting to you, you can play with spiraling around to the right, coming onto the balls of your feet, spinning yourself around until you land right leg crossed in front again, folding back into your legs. Or you can simply uncross your legs, and we'll all meet once we're there. Legs uncrossed, forward hang. Measure out hips distance by making two fists between the arches of your feet. And then take a hold of opposite elbows, dropping the weight of the elbows towards the floor, fitting your knees into your underarms as you lift your seat higher. And you may find that you want to take a blanket underneath your heels to elevate your heels and change the angle a little bit of your hips. Right, getting the seat up a little higher so the head can drop lower. You can support yourself in this hang by stacking a block or two underneath your forehead, or maybe the crown of the head, depending on how low you're able to drop your head towards the ground. Continue to rest your ribs on your legs, especially as you go deeper into this shape. So we maintain the fit of knees into underarms, lifting from the back of the knees up through the hips, rooting down from the back of the knees through the heels. Another variation of the arms is to wrap the forearms behind your calves, crisscross your wrists, and then you can grab the front of your shins. Only doing these different versions if it creates more space. And interlace your hands behind your back, palms facing each other, extend your arms overhead. Take a big breath in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth, release your hands to the floor. And then if you're on the blanket, step forward, flip one hand at a time. So palm faces up, stepping on your palms, toes to wrists. Bend your elbows out to the side, drop your head lower. Full breath in again through your nose. Big exhale, sigh, audible breath out through your mouth. Turn your head slowly from left to right. And then lift one foot at a time to release your hands, bend your knees, and bring yourself back down to the ground to sit. And now we've done all of this work to stabilize the low body so that we can start to play with balance within the upper body. We'll move through some variations of dolphin towards forearm balance. Just do what calls to you today. Explore the different variations. Rest in child's pose when you need to. If you have a strap, you can wrap it around your arms, just around the forearms, so that your elbows are shoulder width apart. Place a block down and then frame the block with your thumb and index finger. Forearms to the ground. Take the time to set your foundation well, and then lift your hips to come into Dolphin Pose. Keep a bend in your knees, heels rooting towards the floor. And this may feel like it's enough of a challenge for you today, in which case just take a few breaths, come back into your child's pose, rest, maybe come back into it and try again. If you're still in dolphin, extend your right leg up and behind you, reaching through your foot to bring some of the weight out of your upper body. You can start to play with little hops. You may not want to go too far with this, especially if you've never taken this balance in the middle of the room. And if you're comfortable, you can play with balance, but I will show you a variation of using the wall for support in just a moment. Take breaks, resting your knees to the ground, allowing your breath to settle again before trying the other side. If you're newer to the practice of kicking up and you'd like to play with it, you can move yourself towards a wall, set the block and strap just in the same way, and then extend it through your leg. Now the effort comes from the bottom leg. You'll bend your knee, push off of the bottom foot, and then just extend the top leg upward. And that may be all you do today, eventually maybe finding the wall. Bend your knees, set the soles of your feet to the wall, and then you can press your feet into the wall to help move your pelvis over your shoulders, tilting your tail up towards the back of the knees in the same way that we did in that rocking movement in the beginning of practice. And maybe extend one leg and then the other, playing with extending both legs up, even if just for a moment, and then coming down into your child's pose. Reconnect into the rhythm of your breath here, and then decide for yourself if you want to stay in a place of rest or coming back up one more time, lifting the other leg, bending the knee, pressing through the foot, extending the leg, and just taking this time in play. If it's challenging, notice your response and your reaction to that challenge. If it's new and you notice fear in the movement, can you play with your boundaries of coming towards something in a state of comfort, seeing what happens when you get there, backing out, coming back into it once you feel prepared again. And rather than moving towards a goal, practicing this effort of going towards and away. Moving out of your comfort zone in increments and giving yourself permission to come back in, to resettle yourself, to gather your senses. Knees to the ground. Start to sit back on your heels, setting your props to the side. Take your arms alongside your legs and come into a little seed shape. Turn back to your breath, measuring your time in this shape of rest with each count of breath. Count out your next consecutive 10 breaths. Listen in for the sound of your breath. Deepening your breath again as you begin to move. Interlace your fingers behind your back, extend your knuckles up towards the ceiling, and you can stay there with hips to heels or roll into the crown of your head, drawing your wrists towards the floor in front of you. And then rest your forehead back down, release your hands, return to your seat. Take your hands to your heels so you condense yourself into a little ball, and we'll play with the transition into camel from this shape. When you're ready, looking out towards what's in front of you, press down through the tops of your feet to lift your hips and move your pelvis forward. And then you'll reach your sitting bones back, fold at your hips, bring your shoulders back to your knees, forehead to the ground. To modify this transition, start in an upright seat, place your hands on blocks, and then unfold, moving your pelvis forward to come into camel. Set your hips back, and you might just come into a seat or play with folding in from there. Choose the variation that allows you to find more fluidity in transition, continuing to play for a few more breaths, folding and unfolding. Looking out, reaching through your chin, moving your hips forward, rooting through the feet, all of those movements coming before the back bend, and then folding and turning back in again. Opening the front of the body as you inhale, folding at the hips, curling back into your seat as you exhale, moving through points of open expression and inward reflection. If child's pose isn't such a place of comfort for you because of heightened sensation in your knees and hips, you could just come into a prone face down position, lying on your belly with your legs extended all the way back behind you. When you're ready, press through your hands, extend your legs, lifting your knees, come back into your downward facing dog. Shift into plank and take your knees to the ground as I show a few variations of side angle pose. First version, right foot steps outside of the right hand, left hand to your sacrum, and you can swing that left foot back for extra stability. Version 2, you'll come into plank, flip your right fingertips, and then you'll step your right foot onto your right hand. So heel is on the back of the hand, toes on the floor out at a 45-degree angle. Left knee comes down, same thing, left hand to your sacrum. Variation 3, the hand and the front foot stays the same, but your back knee will lift, left toes turning out about 45 degrees, left foot rooted to the floor. Organize your hips in space, tail coming back towards 6 o'clock behind you, crown extending out towards 12 o'clock. Press your right knee into your shoulder to revolve you. And then if it's enough to focus on the stability of the hips, stay there, or start to extend your arm alongside your ear, moving towards a back bend. Continuing to come back to the feet, to the ground, to your hips, and then eventually bringing that left hand down, step back, flip your fingertips if you turned your wrist, and find downward dog, pedaling your feet. Take a breath in symmetry. Inhale through your nose, exhale out through your mouth. Shift back into plank and then take whichever of those variations of side angle on the left side that interest you. Either taking knee to the ground, stepping outside of the hand, flipping the wrist, stepping heel onto the back of the hand, turning the toes out so ball of the foot is on the floor. Maybe lifting the knee, planting your outer right foot down. Taking time to connect your feet to the floor, to orient your pelvis so that the direction of the pubic bone guides the trajectory of your back bend, the extension of your spine. Taking your right arm overhead, reach your right arm alongside your ear, and only moving through the upper body for as long as you can maintain contact awareness and stability through the low body. Taking your head back to find the back bend, and then eventually setting hands to the floor, flipping fingertips to the front of the mat, and making your way into downward facing dog. Walk your hands and feet together at the center of your mat. And then once again, lifting one foot at a time, slide your hands palms up underneath your feet so toes meet your wrists, heels descend to the floor. Drop the weight of your head, bend your elbows out to the sides. Keep the connection of upper body to lower body as you lift your seat higher. And then you can play with a little bit of a bouncing movement with your hips shaking out through your head and neck, keeping the stability and contact of hands beneath the feet. Slide your hands out one at a time, fold back into yourself, taking a full breath in, and then full breath out to spin yourself around to face the side of the mat. Crisscross your forearms, take opposite ankles, and then walk your feet apart as far as you can without losing the grip of your ankles. Draw your knees wide, start to sit back, and then release your ankles, wrap your arms into that eagle wrap. Reach your elbows forward as you sit back, finding the back bend, moving elbows and sitting bones in opposite directions. And then unwinding your arms, press your elbows inside of your knees, palms together, look out. And release your left hand to the floor, right hand to your sacrum, twist to look over your right shoulder. Keeping your pelvis stable, extend your arm overhead, catch a glimpse of your hand, and then swim it through the air, switching sides, revolving in the other direction. And now we've done this before with the sitting bones connected to the wall. You can always come back to that version to add stability into the hips and support yourself more. Release your hands and head back towards the ground, coming into a fold, and then crisscross your arms, other forearm on top if you can remember. You might find that you can take your feet a little further apart, but still maintaining the boundary of the distance of the arms. Look out, wind your arms together, eagle arms, pulling your knees apart, sticking your tail back towards what's behind you. Find the back bend in the shape. And then unwind your arms, elbows inside of your knees, palms pressing into each other. Look out, find a little bounce in your hips, and then fold again, this time recrossing your arms and taking a hold of your ankles. Swing your bottom arm up, look up towards your hand, and then swim your arm through the air until you can catch the other ankle. And then keep swinging yourself around. Drawing the bottom arm out, taking a full rotation, watching your hand as you rotate and catch the other ankle. If this is too tightly bound for you, you can come back to that first twist, bringing the hand down just to the floor block underneath your chest, revolving 90 degrees as you turn. Again, sticking your sitting bones on a wall if you want that extra layer of stability and feedback so that you can hold a levelness of your pelvis as you twist around. Release your hands back to the floor, walk your feet together, and then find your way back into your downward dog, bringing your hands to the front of the mat, feet to the back. Extend your right leg up and back. This time bend your knee and open your hip. And then start to stir your knee around so you find a rotation of your thigh within your hip socket. Option to drop your left knee to the ground so that you take this rotation in a tabletop position instead to support your upper body a little more. And revolve your knee the other direction. And just as we've done in every other joint rotation today, noticing those points of stickiness, the places that you have to move around. Re-extend your right leg and then draw your knee forward, stepping your foot between your hands. You can keep your back knee on the ground or take 2 blocks, lift your back knee, and then slide the blocks underneath your back thigh. So the length of your leg rests on the length of the block. Right toes will turn out 45 degrees. Right hand will come inside of your right foot, moving your chest out as you reach your left heel back. You can stay on your hands or drop down to your elbows. Whichever variation you choose, making sure that you can maintain the space across your collarbone, the extension out through your chin, the anchoring back through your heel. Take a full breath in through your nose. Exhale a sigh out through your mouth. Walk your left fingertips outside of your left hip. Bring your right hand into your right knee. And then extend your right arm fully, using the length of your arm as a measurement to find the placement of your left hand. Start to extend your crown back, taking your head back between your shoulders to find the back bend. Option to bind by rotating your arm back, bend your knee, catch the outer edge of your foot, and then kick your foot into your hand to open the front of your body. Release it out slowly as you're ready. Set your hands underneath your shoulders. Take your time to step back to slide your blocks off to the side. And then we'll simply switch legs. Extend your left leg, bend your knee, start to circle your leg in your hip. Drop your right knee down if you prefer to take that supported variation in tabletop. Switch the direction of your rotation, feeling the ball and socket movement of the leg and the hip. And then on an inhale, re-extending the left leg, squaring your hips. As you exhale, step your foot forward. Either drop back knee to the ground or slide your blocks under your back thigh, coming into your version of this lizard lunge. Left toes turn out 45 degrees. Left fingertips start out at 10 o'clock, right fingertips at 2 o'clock so that you can measure the width across your collarbone. You can frame out through your torso. If you'd like, dropping down onto your elbows, but continuing to maintain the forward movement of your chin and your chest, and the opposing backward reach of your right heel. Bring more weight into the outer edge of your left foot, and then begin to open your left side body by walking your right hand outside of your right hip, pressing your left hand into your left knee. Measure the distance through the length of the left arm, taking your head and your heart back in space. And then choosing to stay there, extending your arm alongside your ear or rotating your arm back to catch your inner left foot. If you have the foot, kick strongly into your hand, using the effort of the lower body to open the front of the body. Release your hands down, frame your foot, step back, come into downward dog, pedal out your feet. Move your blocks off to the side and then lower your knees back to the ground. Come back into your child's pose or a prone face down position of your choice. Letting the weight of your head descend into the floor. Feeling your breath moving into the back of your body as you inhale, expanding upper, middle, and lower back. As you exhale, allowing a sense of weight through your rib cage and your hips. Wave your breath down the back of the body as you inhale. And then exhale, lightly engage your low belly. Press your hands into the floor under your shoulders. Come up to sit. Transition onto your back and set up for supported bridge. Press through your feet, lift your hips, slide 1 or 2 blocks underneath your pelvis. Elevate your hips as high as you're able without creating imbalance or instability or feeling any pinching or pressure in your low back. I have 2 blocks on their highest height, one under each side of my pelvis, and then you'll take your arms back to the ground, bend your elbows, rest the back of your hands to the floor. Check in with the alignment of your neck. If you feel your neck pressing to the ground, lift your chin to find your cervical curve, and then allow your breath to settle here as the weight of your hips rest on the block. Keep checking back in, making sure you can maintain an ease to your breath. Take your mind to the places of connection and support beneath you. And then you might stay there, or you can take the top of your left foot, tuck it beneath you, connect all of your toenails to the floor, and then slightly pull forward on the foot to deepen the opening of the front line from the top of the foot over the knee into the front of your hip. Gauge the level of sensation that feels okay for you, and then just releasing and switching feet. Pressing down through the top of the right foot, pulling forward, opening the front of the right leg, the right hip, maybe even feeling sensation into the belly. Return the sole of your right foot to the floor, feeling both feet on the ground again, knees stacked over your heels. Find balance across the back of your hips. Settle your awareness back into your breath. Easing your inhale through your nose, allowing your abdomen to expand upward. Feeling a slight engagement of your navel towards your spine as you exhale to encourage the movement of your breath out. And we'll stay here for a few more rounds of breath. Anytime you need to, if the sensation in the hips becomes too much, just bring your hips back to the floor, moving your blocks off to the side. Notice where your mind goes as you rest in stillness, in support. If it wanders off, let it, and just be aware of when it happens so that you know to bring it back in, to reconnect to your breath, and to feel your body against the ground again. Take your arms back into that cactus position, palms facing up, widening the space across your collarbone. Feel your breath expand from right hip to left shoulder, and from left hip to right shoulder, from the front of your right lung to the back of the left, and from the front of the left lung to the back of the right. Feel your feet on the ground again. Press your feet into the floor and start to find lightness within your hips. Elevating your hips off of the blocks, slide them off to the side. Stick your tail out as you bring your hips to the ground so you land with a little bit of space in your low back. And then establish a place of neutrality here, just as we did in the beginning of our practice in constructive rest pose. Draw your knees in, cross your right knee over your left, interlace your hands on your left knee, or slide your hands down to your heels and start to kick your feet out into your hands. Make little circles with your knees, circling around the back rim of your pelvis, sticking a few in each direction. And then we'll move towards a twist. So a few ways that you can do this. You could keep the bind of the feet. Start to point your left knee down towards the bottom of the mat. So your left heel finds your left sitting bone, and then you'll pivot into a twist, kicking your right foot into your right hand and turning to look over your right shoulder. So continue to kick both feet into the hands. You can modify the accessibility of this shape by releasing the bind of the feet. So one way to do that is to release the bottom leg, bend the left knee. You can hold the back of the left leg and play with extending. You can keep the right knee bent and just not hold the bind of the foot. Or you can come into a simple supine twist, resting your knee on a block and letting your right leg just fully extend down onto the mat. Wherever you are, maintaining ease in your breath. And then eventually coming onto your back again, point your knee up, set your feet to the floor. Take a pause in constructive rest. And then switching sides, left knee crosses over right. Hug the knees towards the body. Slide your hands towards your ankles, maybe holding the shins or holding the outer feet, kicking your feet out into your hands. And continuing to rotate your knees to revolve around the back of the hips a few times each way. Feeling the similarity between this movement and the ones that we've done seated as well as on our knees. Move into a twist, playing with the bind or releasing the bind to come into the variation of a supine twist that supports you in your breath and your spinal health today. It does not have to be the same variation that you did on the other leg. In fact, most of us twist with more ease in one direction than the other. So balance that out in the way that works best for your body. And that may mean holding one twist longer than the other, staying in a place that is less comfortable for longer, rather than lingering in the space of comfort and doing what comes with ease and repeating patterns that are already instilled in our body. Unwind, bend your knees, place your feet back to the floor, and then we'll finish either in a plow or a forward fold. If you're taking plow, lift your feet up and overhead, take a rolled blanket and slide it underneath your upper back so that you can rest the weight of your ribs back into the blanket. Wrap your arms around your calves, crisscrossing your forearms and catching the front of your ankles. You use the weight of your arms to weigh your legs down. If you have a sandbag nearby, you could set your sandbag on your feet as well. And then allow your hips to drop back down towards the ground so that you open the back of the legs in this shape. Check in with the position of your neck again. Make sure that you have some space and lightness in the back of the neck rather than pressing it down towards the floor. Maintain a steadiness to your breath and really start to listen in to the sound of your breath here. And you might work with your Ujjayi breath, creating that oceanic sound as you breathe so that you use the sound of the breath to soothe yourself in this shape. If you're happy here, stay a bit longer, eventually rolling down onto that blanket and resting in a supported fish. Those of you who know plow isn't for you, you can come into a seated forward fold instead. So you take the same shape of the body. You'll rest your forehead on a stack of blocks or a bolster, resting with your breath in this space of internal reflection, soothing yourself with each wave of inhale down the back of your body, each rise of exhale up the front of your body. Stay in this place of rest for as long as it's interesting for you, bringing your mind back in with each new cycle of breath. Eventually coming out of it into a back bend, elbows lifting overhead to elevate your upper body, gently twisting over each shoulder, and then turning to face forward again. Take your time to come into a comfortable seat to prepare for our final breath practices. Sit in any position that allows you to feel upright, to feel grounded. I have a strap wrapped around my legs for a little bit of extra stability in the low body. And resting your hands on your legs, start to come back into a rhythmic breath. It's observing the length of your inhale as it comes down the front of the body and the length of the exhale as it rises back up the front. If you have a block, take your block into your hands. You're going to interlace your fingers to turn your palms up and rest the block on your hands. So you'll take your block overhead first, then interlace your fingers once you have the block in place. Start to extend your arms, pressing the block up towards the ceiling. Now, if this becomes tiresome as we move through rounds of breath of fire, just bend your elbows again, rest the back of your hands and the block on your head and take a little break. Press evenly through right and left palm, root down through your sitting bones, keeping the arms as extended as you're able, bending and taking a moment of break, resetting your hands whenever you need to. Snap your navel back towards your spine to shoot tiny bursts of breath out and then counting out 100 quick exhales. Breathe in a steady rhythm, slowing down anytime you need to if it becomes too rapid, too elevated, if you start to feel lightheaded or dizzy within your breath and you need to ground yourself again, just resting back of hands to the head, taking a softer breath and coming back to it when you're ready. Press the block up towards the ceiling, root your sitting bones down to the ground, cross-reference, drawing apart from your right shoulder to your left sitting bone, from your left shoulder to your right sitting bone, right shoulder to left shoulder to right elbow reaching up through the left palm, left elbow reaching up through the right palm. Empty out with your next exhale and then take a deep, full breath in. Holding your breath in, press your palms up. Sip another breath in through your mouth. Drop your chin to your chest to lock your throat and hold the breath in, continuing to extend the block upward, observing the space of fullness and the sensation that comes along with it. When you're ready to exhale, lift your chin, take the breath out, bend your elbows, set your block down to the side, and rest your palms face up, back of the hands to your legs. With every rise of effort comes the balance of grace descending. So notice the release of energy and breath coming back into your body, the new sensations that come along with that transition and change and that internal alchemy. Slowly moving again as you're ready, extend your arms out in front of you, crisscross your wrists, and then flip your palms to face each other so your hands can interlace. Bend your elbows, flipping your hands through, and then re-extending the arms, taking them overhead. Take a little time with this movement and coordination, extending your arms up, bending the elbows, flipping them through, and then bringing the hands forward. Once that feels familiar, maybe moving a little bit faster, taking a more powerful breath to support the speed of the movement. Extend your arms overhead, reach your knuckles up, keep your wrists crossed, and then start to twist from side to side. Inhaling as you look left, exhaling as you turn right. Finding Vastrika bellows breath, active in and out. As you twist from side to side, extend up through your fists, root down through your seat so you make more space in the sides of the body. You spiral yourself up with every breath. Face forward, exhaling the last breath out. And then holding the shape, take a deep breath in, hold your breath in, sip another inhale through your nose. Take 3 breaths through your mouth. Tuck your chin to your chest, retaining the fullness of the breath for as long as it feels comfortable and sustainable for you. And then releasing your hands, exhale it completely, rest your palms back to your legs. Scan your mind from feet to head, from head to feet. Notice new sensation. Observe the settling of your breath, as well as any other physical sensation that comes into your awareness, allowing your mind to pass from one sensation to the next without avoiding, without fixating. When you're ready, extending your arms in front of you, cross the other wrist on top and begin to bend the elbows to flip the wrist around. Eventually, as you find the coordination, extending arms over the head, flipping the hands forward and then bringing them back up again. Move faster as you're ready for it. Support your movement with your breath. Extend your arms overhead, find space from ribs to hips, and then begin to twist left to right. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Reach up, take a deep breath in, root down through your seat, sip another breath in through your mouth, tuck your chin to your chest, retain the breath in, spiraling your energy upward, reaching up and extending higher as you continue to retain the breath in. And when you're ready, lifting your chin, release your arms, exhale out, rest your palms to your legs. Find yourself upright, still, crown of the head elevating up towards the ceiling. Perineum rooting down and plugging into the earth beneath you so that you're on your plumb line. You're perfectly balanced between what's in front of you, what's behind you, what's above you, what's below you, what's to the right and what's to the left. Begin to direct your breath through a 4-part rhythm, counting each phase of the breath in equal measure. Inhale, count to 4. Hold your breath, count to 4. Exhale out, count to 4. And then hold your breath out as you count to 4. Continuing to cycle through 4 phases of the breath, each phase holding 4 counts. Noticing which moment of the breath you feel the most comfortable through the effort of drawing in, through the retention and fullness, through the release out, or through the space of emptiness. If that's enough to focus on, stick with that. You can bring in the imagery of the breath of the seasons. With your inhale, seeing images of spring rising in front of you. As you hold the breath in, observe the sun above you, the fullness of summer. With your exhale, visualizing leaves falling behind your back. And with the breath out, the emptiness, the dormancy of winter, that space of potential energy as we move from one cycle to the next. Cycle your breath through 2 or 3 more seasons, experiencing the transition from rise of potential to fullness of expression, the return and the descent into spaces of reflection, into the shadows, exhaling into a space of reflection, of reassessing, resting and regrouping for the next turnaround. Gather your hands together, press your palms into each other, rub them vigorously to build heat between your hands, and then place your hands over your eyes. Press your hands into your face, feel the warmth of your hands transfer to the space around your eyes, and then inhale through your nose. Exhale fully out through your mouth. Release your hands away from your face, and we'll finish there. That is all, my friends. Thank you so much for showing up, for participating, for giving it your best, the best that you had to give today. Leave your questions and insights in the comments, share your experience. If you found this practice useful, if you had a meaningful experience, please share it with your family and friends. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, come back for more. We will be back together again next week. I'm Rebecca Joe. This is Rhythm and Order, and I will see you soon.